I want to tell you something that I believe with everything I have after 24 years in this field. An infertility diagnosis is not a verdict. It's not a life sentence. It's not the end of your story. It's a starting point. And in most cases, it is an incomplete one. The women who sit across from me on calls, in my program, in my community, who have been told you'll never get pregnant naturally, or donor eggs are your only option, or IVF is the only path, they have not been given a verdict. They have been given an opinion from a system that ran out of tools. And I've seen those diagnoses reversed. Low AMH that tripled, PMOS that resolved, unexplained infertility that turned out to have 4 specific addressable root causes. Recurrent miscarriage that stopped after we found what the immune system was doing. IVF failure that turned into a healthy pregnancy once we prepared the body the right way. This is not wishful thinking. This is what happens when you approach fertility the way I'm going to walk you through today, with root cause investigation, personalized protocols, and the right support. Today, I'm giving you my 5-step framework for reversing your infertility diagnosis and getting pregnant this year. This is the framework I use with every single member inside my HOPE program. And it starts with one foundational truth. The diagnosis you were given is probably not the real problem. It's the symptom. The symptoms, by definition, have causes. Our job is to find them. I'm Dr. Marc Sklar, the fertility expert. And before we dive in, I want to make sure you have support beyond this video. I've created a free training called Why You Are Still Not Pregnant, based on 24 years of working with women in this exact position. It's in the description below. Grab it. It's going to help you understand exactly what's been getting in the way and what to do about it. Now, let's get into those 5 steps for you. Step 1, and this is the most important one, is to stop accepting the diagnosis as the answer and start treating it as a question. Low MH is not a diagnosis. It's a measurement. It tells you how many eggs you have. It says nothing about egg quality, hormone function, thyroid health, inflammation, or the reason the number is where it is. Unexplained infertility is not a diagnosis. It's a ceiling, the point where standard medicine stopped investigating. PMOS is a syndrome, a collection of symptoms that can have multiple different underlying drivers. Insulin resistance is the most common, but I see what we are now calling PMOS that's driven primarily by adrenal dysfunction, or by thyroid disruption, or by HPA axis dysregulation. The treatment for each of those is different, but most women get put on the same protocol regardless. So step 1 is this. Go back to the beginning and ask, what have we actually tested for? What root cause testing, not symptom level testing, has been done? Dutch panel, comprehensive thyroid with antibodies, stool analysis, inflammatory markers, sperm DNA fragmentation. These are the questions that tell you what is actually driving your fertility challenges. Inside the HOPE program, the assess phase is entirely dedicated to this. We run the tests that conventional medicine doesn't. We look at your full history, not just your reproductive history, but your whole history. Sleep, gut, stress, autoimmunity, nutrition, and environmental toxin exposure. All of it, because all of it connects. And almost every single time when we look this deeply, we find something that explains why it hasn't been working, and something that we can actually address. Step 2 is addressing your hormonal environment, not just your reproductive hormones, but your full hormonal ecosystem. Here's what I mean. Your reproductive hormones, FSH, LH, estrogen, progesterone, they don't operate in isolation. They are downstream from your adrenal function, your thyroid, your insulin sensitivity, and your stress response. If any of those upstream systems are dysregulated, your reproductive hormones will be affected, whether or not they show up as out of range on a standard panel. The most common hormonal patterns I see driving infertility that standard testing misses, this is the first one, subclinical thyroid dysfunction. Your TSH looks normal, but your free T3 is low, your reverse T3 is elevated, and your antibodies are high. The thyroid governs your basal metabolic rate, your ovulation, your progesterone production, and your ability to sustain early pregnancy. When it's functioning at even 80% capacity instead of 100%, the difference is enormous for your fertility. The second one is progesterone insufficiency. This is incredibly common and often missed or undertreated. Progesterone is what prepares the uterine lining for implantation, supports your embryo through the early weeks of pregnancy, and prevents miscarriage. When it's low, even when it appears normal on a single blood draw, implantation becomes difficult and early pregnancies don't hold. The third, estrogen dominance. This can be driven by gut dysbiosis, poor liver detoxification, or chronic stress. And it creates an environment that suppresses ovulation, disrupts implantation, and fuels inflammation. And fourth, adrenal dysfunction, specifically the cortisol steal pattern. I described it in another video this month. When your body is in survival mode, it deprioritizes reproduction. Full stop. Addressing these patterns with the right supplements, the right dietary interventions, and sometimes the right bioidentical hormone support is step 2. And Feminescence Maca Harmony plays a meaningful role here for many of my members. Its active compounds work at the level of the hypothalamic pituitary axis, supporting the brain's communication with the reproductive system. And it has clinical data behind it specifically for hormonal balance in women with irregular cycles and hormonal disruption. It's not a band-aid. It's working at the root. Step 3, and this is the one most people are surprised by, is the gut and immune reset. I've spoken about this in other videos, and I'll say it again here because it's that important. Your gut and your immune system are one system, and that system is deeply involved in your fertility. Your gut microbiome regulates your estrogen metabolism through the estrobolome. It governs your systemic inflammatory tone. It trains your immune system on what is foreign and what is safe. And when it's disrupted, leaky gut, dysbiosis, pathogenic overgrowth, or imbalanced bacterial ecosystem, it creates an environment that works against pregnancy at multiple levels simultaneously. For women with autoimmune thyroid conditions, endometriosis, or recurrent miscarriage, gut health is not optional. It is central because each of these conditions is rooted in immune dysregulation, and the gut is where immune regulation begins. The reset here involves 2 things: removing the things that are driving dysbiosis, inflammatory foods, pathogens identified on a stool test, gut irritating substances, and building back the ecosystem that supports immune health, estrogen clearance, and the uterine microbiome. Because yes, your uterus has its own microbiome, and the health of the endometrial microbiome is now understood to be a factor in implantation success. This step alone, in women where gut dysbiosis was a root cause, has changed outcomes that seemed impossible before. Step 4 is something I think about as preparing the raw material. Because here's the thing, even if you've addressed your hormones, your gut, and your inflammatory environment, the quality of the egg and sperm going into each attempt still matters enormously. And quality is not fixed. Eggs take approximately 90 days to fully mature. Sperm renew every 72 days. So what you do in the 90 days before your peak fertility window directly affects the quality of what you're working with. For eggs, the primary lever is mitochondrial function. Mitochondrial power the fertilization and early division process. And mitochondrial health is directly influenced by oxidative stress, which we reduce through gut and inflammatory work. CoQ10, which is why I recommend it for every woman focused on egg quality. Vitamin D, which functions as a hormone and affects follicular development. And DHEA in specific situations where diminished ovarian reserve is present. For sperm, the primary lever is antioxidant protection and DNA integrity. Sperm DNA fragmentation, the DFI test I described earlier, tells you how much oxidative damage has reached the genetic material inside the sperm. And this responds well to targeted antioxidant supplementation. Rejuva's male formula was designed specifically around this. The nutrients most supported by research for sperm DNA health and motility. Trisha, one of the members in my program, came to us with an AMH of 0.03, devastatingly low. She was told conception was highly unlikely. After working through this protocol, the diet, the supplements, the lifestyle work, her husband's sperm protocol alongside hers, her AMH more than tripled, and they conceived naturally. She told me afterward, I learned it isn't how many eggs you have, it's the quality. and we can improve that. That's magical. That is the truth. And it starts with step 4. Step 5 is the one people underestimate. And I want to be honest with you about why I included it. Because this is not about positive thinking or manifestation. This is about physiology. Chronic fertility-related stress, the hypervigilance, the grief of every failed month, the comparison, the fear, is not just emotionally draining. It is biologically active. It elevates cortisol. It suppresses progesterone. It drives immune dysregulation. It affects the quality of your sleep, which affects melatonin, which affects egg quality. It is a factor in your fertility outcomes, and it needs to be treated as one. What I mean by a mindset and support shift is this: building a structure around you, not just a supplement protocol, but a real support system that allows your nervous system to down-regulate, that removes the isolation of the fertility journey, that gives you access to guidance from someone who has seen this before and knows what the path looks like. This is why inside the HOPE program, the weekly live group clinics with me is not an add-on. It is part of the protocol because I have watched women's lab numbers change after they found community. Because nervous system regulation is physiological. Because the difference between feeling alone in this and feeling genuinely supported, it shows up in your body. Noelle is a member who had tried IVF twice with no success in the past. She and her husband had started the adoption process. They joined the program and she needed not just a protocol, but a direction, a sense that someone had seen this before and knew how to navigate it. She did the work. She implemented everything. She got pregnant quickly. And she says the supplement she was given helped her body become balanced. But it was the guidance, the lifestyle clarity, and the support that made her feel like she could actually trust the process and trust her body. This is what this step is about, and it's not optional. Just last week, someone joined the HOPE program because she could only speak to her previous provider once a month at best. She needed more consistent support. And when she had questions about her fertility or hormones, she couldn't wait a month to get answers. If you're ready to reverse your diagnosis, if you're done waiting for a different outcome from the same approach, I want to invite you to apply for a fertility assessment discovery call with my team. We will look at your specific situation, your history, your labs, and tell you honestly what we think the path forward is for you. And if the HOPE program is the right fit, we'll walk you through that. The link to do that is in the description below. An infertility diagnosis is not a verdict. It's not a life sentence. It is, in most cases, an incomplete investigation given by a system that ran out of tools before it ran out of possibilities. I have seen women with AMH of 0.03 get pregnant naturally. I have seen women with stage 3 endometriosis and 0 symptoms finally find their root cause and change their outcomes. I have seen couples told IVF was their only option become parents without it. These are not miracles. They are what happens when you find the real root cause, address it properly, and have the right support to see it through. You deserve that. Your story is not over. Grab my free training in the description, Why You Are Still Not Pregnant. It's your starting point. And if you're ready to go deeper, apply for a fertility assessment discovery call. We're here for you. And for your next video, I did one on the specific root causes tests that changed everything for my members. These tests most doctors never ordered or thought about. If today's video inspired you to go deeper, that video is going to give you the exact roadmap. I'll put it right here. Watch it next. Until then, stay fertile and stay hopeful.